Beautiful, isn't it? The DB5 is, I was actually going to say the DB5 is the most iconic Aston Martin ever built, but I probably think it's more likely one of the most iconic cars this country has ever produced. There have been DBs before, there have been DBs since, and people always ask me when I'm working at motor shows and trade stands, what does DB stand for? Because everyone knows what DB9 is, everyone knows what DB5 is, of course, the new DB11, DBS. What is DB? Well, if you look at the badge on this one, it says David Brown, Aston Martin, because David Brown was the CEO or chairman of Aston Martin from 1947 to 1972, and he was the man that basically shaped Aston Martin as a sustainable modern company. And he went to a company called Touring, who did this beautiful Superleggera body and space frame chassis, and it was a great success, and that's why you see the Superleggera badge on this car, the DB4 and the DB6, and obviously now revived with the newer DBS Superleggera today. But all of these iconic cars Aston Martin produced always stem back to almost the DB5 in terms of their image, because the DB5 was the car that carved out that iconic profile, the long bonnet, short tail, the iconic Aston Martin grille with the S-bends, the side strake. It's all those iconic pieces that make Aston Martin instantly recognisable as an Aston Martin. This particular example is in the showroom in a colour called Californian Sage, and California Sage is a very, very sort of iconic colour that epitomises the period the car was built, the 1960s. DB5 hit the streets in 1963, caused a stir because it's probably the prettiest car ever built. Obviously the 60s was home to some of those prettiest cars ever, E-Type Jaguar, the Ferrari 250 series, and the DB5 sat amongst those, if not on top, as probably the most beautiful cars ever built. And again, you've got Touring, Superleggera to thank for that styling. It just looks absolutely superb. The proportions of everything is just, it's the template of how every car, almost the barrier by which every car is marked upon in terms of its beauty. Power-wise, the DB5 had a straight six engine, producing, because they're handmade, some produced a little more, some produced a little less than 300 horsepower. I believe the figures when the car first came out was 282 horsepower, which is an awful lot in 1963. And because of its lightweight body and its lightweight chassis, thanks to Touring Superleggera, it competed quite well. You had the DB4 GTs before it, you had the DB5, some customers had the DB5s race prepared, and it did quite well out on the tracks against the Lotus Cortinas and Ferraris of the period. And if you go to Goodwood Revival or Goodwood Members Meeting now, you'll see these cars fighting neck and neck with those sort of cars on the track, and it's amazing because these cars have remarkable value. But because they're such a pleasurable car to drive and own, a lot of our customers will take their cars to the track and get a feel for how it drives. Driving a DB5 or driving a DB11, it takes analog input, something that's lost in modern cars nowadays. The DB5 is a very typical car of the period in the terms the fact got carburetors. You've got a little key that looks like it belongs to a shed that starts the engine. You've got a pencil thin gear knob that slots in with such positivity, it could be a rifle bolt. But also you have like a choke start. So one of the things you definitely don't see in cars nowadays as well. Obviously the kind of people that own and collect these cars are very familiar with these types of vehicles, but for somebody like me that works around modern cars all the time, I find it quite novel to have a throwback to the golden days of owning and driving cars like this. One thing as well is the sound. So that straight six engine sort of buzzes away and has a great noise to it, and it has that very sort of manual analog feel, which is again sometimes lost in cars of today. Well, thank you for watching. As I said, DB5 is a beautifully iconic car, but the two cars we have here, the California Sage and the Silver Birch DB5s, are not just display items at Aston Martin Bristol, they are for sale. So any interested parties, please give us a call. Telephone number is 01179 007 007, or you can contact us on the website. So thank you for watching, and please stick around for plenty more videos from Dick Lovett and Aston Martin Bristol to come. Thank you.